Well. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Got a full night of sleep last night, so feeling good, feeling great, and ready to do some more magic internet money analysis. So let's get into it right over here. But before that, as always, want to be wishing you the best start to your Monday week. Hope you're having a nice and healthy start, nicely relaxing weekend, ready for the trading week. And we actually got plenty to talk about because a big kind of like macroeconomic events going on right now with essentially the war drum is being beat once again. Futures for traditional markets are down quite big coming into this Monday morning. So with that said, let's see how it affects Bitcoin. Let's get into the good old live scene. Teleportation initiated, and Bitcoin actually having a little bit of a sell-off itself. Not anything too aggressive just yet, but going off the daily right over here, we do have a few things to be aware of. Now, yes, the yellow 21 exponential moving average has officially crossed, confirmed above the blue 377 exponential moving average, which does solidify this area as a very strong base. So that's kind of the big pivot going forwards here for me. As long as Bitcoin is maintaining above this area, I'm not really like, entertaining some sort of like major massive downwards moves. Now, that also means that if Bitcoin does break this area, then we can start talking about some lower targets, into the 4,000s. But for now, Bitcoin's still holding up well above it, and this area, if we do want to come back, cool off, come back down, this is kind of where I'd be looking towards as a first target, which, if we do bring up our oscillators, does look a little bit more likely right now, to be quite honest with you, with the advent of last night. And let me just make sure that my mic is working. Yes, it is. I'm recording as well. That's also good. Okay, great. Don't need to do that one over again. And with the advent of this last 48 hours trading period, it does look like we actually have confirmed this as a little bit of a local high. And if this is a local high, then this is considered bearish divergence between this point and this point. Well, and also going all the way back on over here. But more importantly, my point is that we are really respecting, or seemingly to respect, this top trend line, which Bitcoin has been grinding out for the past month or so, ever since we put it in on this first spike high in early April. So as long as Bitcoin's kind of crawling its way above this area, this is the major resistance that is indeed. Now, of course, if we go into lower time frames, we can make much more expedited decisions based off this. But I do want to show that if you do want to make things easy for yourself, the higher time frames are where all the money is at right now. And you can see that Bitcoin pretty much coming back down and retesting our blue box territory that we had in last night. I do not think that this is going to hold if we come back down and test it again. In fact, when we go down to the lower time frames, it can actually look like we do want to come back down and test it. But anyways, with that said, going back on over here into our Bitstamp chart, I do want to bring up the oscillator once again, and we do see daily Stokes getting up there, still erect, still powerful. So that would be fine from my perspective. And I always want to remind myself that, if I am seeing weakness on a chart like this, I'm only looking for it to come back down and test the 21 exponential, which is all the way down around 5350, 5400-ish area, which, as long as we're above there, that's the pivot point for this chart in general. Keep in mind that we do have the golden cross going on. So generally, general outlook from this time frame perspective, I am essentially bullish as long as we're above the 21 exponential moving average, let alone all these moving averages right now, which is very powerful. So my point is that even if I am looking for Bitcoin to come back down, I'm not looking for like a major massive downwards move. I'm only looking for a move coming back down into here. Unless if this area breaks, then we can start talking about some more aggressive downside targets. But for right now, Bitcoin does look to me like it kind of wants to cool off a little bit. It does look like the 12-hour dildo time frame has gotten a bearish Stochastic cross right over here, confirmed as of last night. And not only that, but we do have some bearish divergence on this one as well. And usually what I want to see is a test of the 21 at that point, which is around 5,500. The few ticks below 5,500. So I actually do think that we probably will be coming down around this area. I think that there are more confluences with Bitcoin having a little bit more of a slump. To start the week off. Looking at the 12-hour RSI, it looks like we are below the exponential on this one as well. So not only bearish divergence, but also losing the exponential does tell me that we likely do come down and test this area. Now, daily, again, is still not, daily is not quite there just yet. I mean, actually, daily, for what it's worth, is looking okay. The thing is that I just want to be aware of this major base right here. So as long as Bitcoin holds above that, looking at our lower time frames, that's kind of where I'm going to be judging, where I'm going to be looking for a pullback if I want to be a buyer of a pullback. For full disclosure, I am pretty much flat right now. I have sold, I basically sold my position off at, on these futures at like 56.90, and then I basically did a little bit of a trade over weekend, so I kind of destroyed my entry, but that's okay. Doesn't matter about that. All it matters about is actual P&L, and that's what I get to lock in. So nicely done. Happy about that. And more importantly, let's now go to the lower time frames, because that's where really actually all the damage is being done, and where a lot of this has been dictated for the past for the past month, actually, it's been really damn good on like the 4-hour and below, funnily enough, which are usually the time frames that I avoid. But going over here into the hourly, we do see that Bitcoin is really is gonna try to consolidate this area. So while the higher time frames do show that I would be looking for likely a run down around 5,500 to test that support. If we go down to lower time frames, now we can actually figure out an actionable trade. In my opinion, that would be a good setup, and that would be if we actually break 5,600. So it's the same actionable figure as yesterday when we spoke about it. It's as long as Bitcoin's above 5,600, I don't really think that there's like a realistic trade to be made. But the second time we actually close an hourly, or I should say a 2-hourly dildo below 5,600, but I could maybe even make the decision on an hourly. Then yes, I would be looking for that target to be met at what is it, like 50? It's like maybe 54.75 if you want to get super granular with it. But until that happens, Bitcoin can spend its time doing something like this for as long as it wants. I mean, technically this is an ascending triangle, right? We do have rising bottoms and we do have a flat top, and Bitcoin is getting picked up once again, as we do see our hourly Stokes actually still headed down. So these ones, the hourly Stokes have actually as well been like really, really good at getting price action, funnily enough. So again, with these guys headed down with price action essentially going flat, sideways, actually like slightly up here a little bit, it does make me think that, okay, if Bitcoin does want to hold this area, we can consolidate this area. And what is this going to be? This is just going to be a nice ascending triangle, which if we do want to play it as a ascending triangle, typically these things are more bullish than not, and that would imply a measured move. If we can break above about 5,800, close an hourly doodle above there, imply a measured move somewhere into like the 6,000-ish range, which... Again, if you want to, I think it's best to be agnostic right here. Yes, I do think that the higher time frames are showing a little bit of signs that they want to test a little bit lower. But hey, until this area actually breaks, I'd say that this is the more actionable thing. The higher time frames are less tangible right here, just because I'd rather be going with the overall trend. And the overall trend has been up, especially with the daily having the golden cross and above all major moving averages. I do want to give that the priority amongst everything else. So yes, while it does look, it certainly does look like that, I wouldn't be taking trades like that until we actually break 5,600 again. Take it, or maybe even taking out a wick below our prior like 55 low could also be an actionable trade as well. But an hourly dodo close anywhere below here probably good enough for me. 5,600, looking for a trade down to 55 to 54.75-ish area, and then we'll kind of figure it out from there. But like I said, that's only if we close below this area right here, 5,600. If that happens, then I start looking for that. Until that happens, I actually do still go with the upside here, just because that is a former trend. That is kind of my rule with the daily. It's, it keeps you in trades like this, but not as always, it's not going to always be perfect. So I would still be sticking with that, but a lot of ways to manage your trade going forwards here. 4-hour, do we have anything to be aware of on the 4-hour? 4-hour Stokes still down, actually headed aggressively down now. I wonder what the 3 hours are doing. Yeah, they are down as well. 2 hours are down as well. So pretty much every time frame is down. All the medium time frames are down as well. This is your 6-hour, this is your 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour, which all those medium time frames have not been too damn good. The 12-hour has been good, and then everything below about a 4-hour has been decent for the smaller moves. And both those time frames are closing down, yes, as well as losing some, the RSI, also losing the exponential on these time frames as well. So to me, that does say that if I am going off that, a little bit more pressure down. But if I'm going off the price action, I would say, hey, I'd still be waiting until 5,600 gets broken. You just don't know how long it's going to spend going around this area, and that's kind of what I mean about like timing a trade like this, right? Because you'll probably be right on the actual direction of that trade at some point, but it can spend a lot of time going sideways within this formation before it actually chooses a direction. And that's kind of that's kind of my point, is that timing this trade is actually more important than just taking it, because again, this trend line will be rising over time. So if it's at 5,600 currently, it's going to be at 5,650 in just like half a day. About half a day. So sorry, maybe not half a day, but at the end of today, at the end of the trading day today, like around 8 p.m. Eastern time. So that actionable area is going to be it's going to be different, right? So my point is that the more time that we spend going sideways without actually breaking this to the downside, the more and more time that this actually lets you get a better, an actual better entry for some more reward on that risk reward equation, right? Anyways, okay, cool. So yeah, basically everything below daily is actually down right now. What else do we have? We do have, I said bearish divergence on the 12-hour and actually the daily as well now. Bearish divergence on the daily would actually imply a target even lower than what I just stated, actually all the way at 35.50. Sorry, not 35.50, 53.50. That's what I'm trying to say. Jesus Christ, man. I have dyslexia up the Angus. And unfortunately, it's really bad to be having it in an area like this where 53.50 and 55 and 53.50, or sorry, 35.50 and 53.50 is like massively different. It can be easily misinterpreted. Anyways, going over here to the 2-day. 2-day still is giving us the impetus for resistance right around this 200 simple moving average. Again, I can't like reasonably get bullish for another leg up until we actually clear this area. That's currently coming in right around a hair under 5,800. So, the actual trades, in my opinion, are both right in this range, and that is, and just kind of recap, that is below 5,600 and above essentially like 5,800 if we're going off the higher time frame. On the lower time frames, can make that decision a little bit earlier. I'd say on the lower time frames, about a 2-hour, 3-hour dildo close above, let's see, if we can get a 2-hour dildo close above this area right here, which is, 5,800 to be fair, then yes, I would be looking for that next move up, likely into this. It's going to be in the 6,000 if we break that area. Although, you could also make the argument that this is a little bit of distribution going on, and I would say that it's not wrong. It's not wrong, but as you can see, I'm actually pretty indecisive myself right here. I don't really think that this is a trade zone, unless you're already in a trade. Just kind of managing. I mean, the way to manage these existing trades would be the same as if I was taking new trades. Below here, I'm taking positions off, or maybe even putting on a little bit of a short. Above here, I'm putting on a long or adding to long positions. It's no more complicated than that. That's kind of my point right now, is that a little bit of patience is going to go a long ways instead of guessing in the middle of a nice consolidation, which if we go to our weekly, we actually did do something quite impressive with this last weekly close. Bringing on the Trollinger Bands once again, we did close above the upper Trollinger Band, right? Which to me, does incite that we are going to have continuation. That's typically how the Trollinger Bands operate. When we start trending, when we have very strong trends, we will use the upper Trollinger Band or the lower Trollinger Band, depending upon if it's an uptrend or a downtrend, to kind of rally off of and base off of. Well, right now we actually did close the last week above the top Trollinger Band, which typically does beget some continuation. So when I'm looking at our current weekly dildo, it is still extremely early in the week, right? But that also means we have a lot of time to actually get some continuation. And the fact is with this is that the second that we actually even just take out the prior week's high, that's going to be pretty much, that's going to open up the doors for a move into like the 6,000s. And I don't think it's going to be 6,000. I think it's going to be like 60. Jesus Christ, that was loud. Holy fucking moly. What's up, Gary Mander? Good to meet you, man. Waking me up too, man. Jesus Christ. Sorry about that. Been all low energy today, and now I'm all woken up. Nice cup of coffee there. Anyways, bringing on the volume profile, we do see that there's really nothing much stopping us from 63, actually 62, 6,400 a share is kind of the area that I've been purporting for another leg up, which I do think is actually do think is more likely. It seems to me that most people here are actually kind of bearish, which is kind of funny. As while you could still, I'd still want to be removed from the discussion of is the low in or not, just because when coming down to a discussion like that, that's more long-term type thinking. I can make the case for both. I can make the case for the low being in. I can make the case for the low not being in. I can make the case for even if the low is in, we probably do come back down, down to some lower levels. And just, as a trader, you got to be able to trade in multiple dynamic environments. So the people who want to exclaim the low is in or the low is not in are the people who need a 100% answer to something, which is just can't be had in trading. There is variability. There is just randomness. There is things that you don't think are ever possible that can happen, and then they fucking happen. Believe me, I've seen things that I literally did not think were possible, like things that I believe I've seen pretty much everything except for the price going to the left, and if that happened, I don't know how surprised I'd be, to be quite honest with you. It's as strange as it is to say. It's one of those things. The people who need that sort of a key answer saying the low is in or the low is not in are the people who are not trades, and the people who need to either invest like whatever capital that they have, because I mean it's a terrible. It just shows the wrong mentality to begin with, because if you're going to be investing all your money in just because someone said the low is in, that's not the right thing to be thinking. You don't, even if the low was in, I wouldn't wouldn't be putting in all my money in this market. I want to be putting my money into a market that is actually trending to the upside, moving to the upside, solving the opportunity cost of an equation like this. So, again, when that sort of conversation comes up, I do like to kind of excuse myself from it, although I can make the case for both. I can make the arguments for both, as I did in the last video in the long-term analysis. Anyways, so for me, the Trollinger Bands would suggest that we probably do have continuation, and the next area that I'll be looking towards is about 62 to 6400. Now, this is a higher time frame. Obviously, when we were looking at the lower time frames, we can have a comeback down. We can have another base being set in, at 55 or 53, 50, whatever it ends up being. But ultimately, I do think that we probably do rally off that area and make a stab into the 6,000, 6,200 to 6,400, a legitimate possibility. Looking at the shorts and the longs, we have a significant amount of shorts. Actually, shorts adding over the weekend. We have 31,000 open shorts on Finex versus 18,500 open longs. Longs are actually paying. Longs are paying a significantly greater rate than the shorts right now. But neither of them are that high. It's once it gets above like 0.07%, that's when it starts to get a little bit more intense. We do have about 4,000 of these guys hedged, so it's really 27,000 open naked shorts versus 18,500 open longs. Still great imbalance in favor of the shorts, which that provides a lot of overhead liquidity, especially when price action is drifting to the upside, putting these guys underwater. Which, remember, we can actually quite literally look at where these people are getting short at, right? Because we can bring up the chart over here on Finex shorts, which a lot of people getting short ever since the 22nd of April. I mean, not really too many shorts being let off ever since then. And where was price action during the 22nd of April on Finex? And I know this is the dollar, but it's gonna be the same shit anyways. Somewhere right over here, right around 5,400. So these guys way underwater, still not letting go of their positions. Even if we go to a regular exchange, this was right over here, right around 5,350. So we're about $300 above their price. So again, people getting squeezed right now, not necessarily letting go of their positions, which these people have been pulling their positions for a long time now. It's one of those things. If we are going to break overhead resistance, it probably does happen sooner rather than later, and that would mean this week most likely. When it comes to that sort of a thing, and where's the next logical target? I mean, just looking at this very simply and very easily, really not too much stopping you from this next high point of control, right? So again, it's one of those things where I do want to be more agnostic in a range like this. I don't really want to put on a major positions, because I do believe that actually the next big trade is going to be the downside. Whether we get up into this area or even go on to 7,000, I actually do think that the next big trade is going to be the downside. So this is kind of what I have my eyes on right now. And as you can see, Bitcoin just trudging its way on through as the real trading week begins. So let me put back on the exponentials moving averages right over here. Let me put on the 2-day dildo time frame. Let's take off the volume profile. Let's go through these guys. So yeah, if you want to take it off the 2-day dildo time frame, 200 moving average, this white moving average right here, still being the impetus for resistance. The second that Bitcoin breaks this area, looking at that target of 62 to 64. Again, these things are all confluent with each other, and I'd say that could probably make that decision before if Bitcoin takes out the prior high of 58.50, or if Bitcoin does confirm. I think it was a 2-hour dildo above 5,800, or about 5,800. It looked like. If it can do that, then yes, I'm going to be targeting to move towards 62 to 64. I'll probably add a little bit. Not going to be not going to be putting on a huge position. I want to be more protective here than anything as the market gets a little bit more excited, right? Anyways, okay, so let's bring up our oscillators here. 2-day Stokes actually still headed down. This area, a little bit more of a critical area, right? We have called some major massive tops whenever we got in above this critical area on the 2-day Dildo Stokes. And this was your 20,000 high in 2017. This was your 12,000 high in February. This was your 10,000 high in May. This was your 8,400 high in August. Once again, getting in this area, spending a lot of time in this area, which was unseen during the bear market of this whole segment of 2018 to early 2019. Now she's spending some time in that area, so we do see a little bit of change in tides. The thing with the RSI right here is that we actually will have a chance to lose the exponential later tonight. Now, I believe, doesn't that close later tonight? Yes, it does, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And more importantly, with that, the second that we confirm this as a local high is the second that we get to say, okay, we got bearish divergence on the 2-day dildo time frame as well, which is likely going to be quite powerful. Usually that gets a lot of play, and that actually incite a test probably back down to about 51.50. Now, of course, that's way far away from even confirming. We need to first let today's dildo get set in stone at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and then we get to judge tomorrow's, and then we can maybe confirm a local high. But the second that we can confirm a local high in this range is the second that we can say, okay, likely going to have a nice down move now. now. So again, it's one of those things where it's a lot of waiting right here, and really going to depend on how we close later tonight. With the lower time frames, going to be more actionable actually. 3-day, we got the 200 exponential coming in right around 5350, 5400ish area, which is again just the same base that you see everywhere. Here's a 2-day 200 at 5350. Here's a daily 377 and 21 at 5350. All these things coming in around the same area. What I also want to say is 3-day Stokes getting way up there, looking weak. We will be getting another tick on this later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I don't like trading against these ones either. We haven't been crossed down on these guys since a fake out in early March actually, and more importantly, each and every time that we've gotten into this critical zone for the past year, these have been pretty nasty dumps as well. Again, same areas, 20,000, 10,000, 8,400, and once again, looking a little bit weaker in this area, which does make me apprehensive. What do we have on the 3-day Jewel? 3-day Jewel actually cooling off still. It's not really telling us too much actually. More importantly with the 3-day, I am looking for something like this to actually happen, where we get just a little bit into this critical zone as we did back in 2016. Cool off a little bit, catch the pink as a support, and then get walked up once again. So you can see the pink is actually quite far down. So that would also that would also kind of insinuate a pullback as well. So we are starting to see a little bit more confluences with the lower time frames and the higher time frames. It's just a one-off with the with the dailies. What I was looking at, the more and more that we get kind of deep and down and dirty into this 3-day RSI, we spoke about that. Yep. Yeah, so now we'll get on over into the weekly. Weekly did have a pretty damn good close, but remember, all these moving averages, again, we got the cyan 89, we got the green 55 coming in right around 53.50, and these guys are converging on each other, which would imply that the trend is loosening to the downside, because these do have a bearish cross in them, which is quite obvious. And when they actually cross the upside, well, that's when we actually get to say that they have a bullish cross. More importantly, we did get a bullish cross confirmed of the red 10 simple and the yellow 21 exponential moving average on the weekly. Not something that I'm actually like too gung-ho about, not something that I actually care all that much about. Just kind of going over the history of it. We got a bearish cross right over here, did do a good job of calling the rest of the down, but very flight. It's not very like precise is the word. It doesn't have the precision factor, but it does give you insight into the overall trend. So that doesn't mean that we can't have another comeback down and test a little bit lower. Absolutely we can. And in fact, that's kind of what it's looking like to me, is that we want to test a little bit lower, maybe as low as 53.50, and then we'll kind of figure it out from there. I would still say that I would be leaning towards more upside overall, just based off of the much higher time frames, but the lower time frames do look like they want a little bit more down to me. Let's go on over and check out the weekly Stokes. Actually still headed up. Jesus Christ, man, we got a new tick on this last night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Still headed up though, so not too bad. What about weekly RSI? Same thing, kind of finding a little bit of resistance in this area, but not all that crazy. And this is kind of, this is kind of the interesting part of the market, right? Because we've had such an aggressive run up, right? And we haven't tested this area in a very long time. We haven't tested the exponential on the RSI in a very long time. And usually, we don't like to spend too much time away from it before coming back down and testing it. And again, just because we're going to come back down and test it, does that mean that, this is bearish as fuck? We're going on to new lows? No, it doesn't. I mean, overall right here, I'd probably say on lower time frames, looking for a pullback, higher time frames, looking for a continuation. But here's the thing, over this weekend, in this past week, when I was making calls for myself, of course, this is not financial advisor, but making calls for my own selves and sharing my own trades, I felt pretty confident in those calls. This one right here, not as much, to be quite honest with you, not as much, which you could probably hear in my voice, because there is a lot of dissenting behaviors between all the time frames. And that's what I kind of want to remind myself, perhaps even you, that's, you don't always have to be taking a trade, and if you're not feeling confident about it, if you don't like if you feel like your edge is kind of a little bit off, you don't have to take it. This is like a game of poker where you don't have to play until you have like all fucking aces in your hands, and then you can see what can be done, right? Sometimes you just get into the zone, and and it seems like all the trades work out. Right now, do I feel like do I feel confident in my calls? I mean, I think it's more likely to happen that we come back down and test lower at 5,500. I do feel confident in that, but not as much as what I was looking at over the weekend, to be quite honest with you. Anyways, go for the monthly as well. I do want to just briefly touch on the monthly. Monthly, if we do have a pretty nasty pullback, we could come all the way back down to about 49.50 and still not really destroy anything from a monthly perspective. That's also what I really want to get at as well, just because it's very important to understand the critical areas, right? And the higher time frames and how they relate to the low time frames. And right here, the higher time frames are saying something very specific. They're saying that, hey, we do have continuation. We do have a decent setup. We did regain the 21 exponential, which I do like, but that doesn't mean that, that doesn't mean that we can't have a pullback. And from a monthly perspective, we can pull back all the way to about 49.50 and still be completely fine. So the lower time frames would look like, all hell's broken loose, but the higher time frames still, that would be the overall interpretation. Yeah, just a pullback from the higher time frame perspective, likely looking for more continuation in the same direction as as the prior, which would be the upside. Now, of course, the overall direction of this monthly is still in a downtrend, right? We're still making lower highs and lower lows, so that's why I'm still not in the discussion of are the lows in or not. I think the bulls and the bears saying the lows are definitely not in or the lows are definitely in are both of equal craziness. I mean, just as a trader, you can't say shit like that. You can't care about that shit to begin with. The only key people who care about that are people who are like trying to play the lottery and make all their money and like double it up or triple it up because they think that this thing's going to go to like 100 billion, which maybe it does. But my point is that if you're a trader, you got to be able to trade in dynamic environments, and in the low being in or the low not being in doesn't really change too much of what I'm doing to begin with. So yeah. Anyways, okay, cool. All right, did I show my positions? I want to be fully transparent with this. Basically short from this price point right over here, long from this price point right over here. Still holding my 39.30 long as well, and I don't really see any reason to let go of it. We do see monthly Stochs crossing up to the upside. This was actually not a good timing factor in the past bear market cycle, to be honest. Right over here is when we got the last Stoch cross to the upside, which we actually got knocked down afterwards. Now, of course, that did begin our bullish momentum, right? But not before a pretty nasty, what is this, like 30 to 40% drop down? Yeah, about 40% drop down. Now I do think that we have a little bit of a different setup, as we did regain the 21 over here. We did not have it right over here. And more importantly, I feel like so many people are trying to make this work with 2014, 2015. Understand that, the problem with fractals is that, yes, they're going to work. At one time out of a million, they're going to work. But the thing is that you're going to get it so many fucking times wrong before getting it right, and it's just so difficult to do, because how can you manage risk on a trade like that? How can you define targets? How can you define anything like that when it's a fucking fractal in nature? So that means that, just generically, how can you measure these things out? It makes it very difficult to trade. How are you going to set up a nice risk-reward equation for yourself? How are you going to calculate probability? How are you going to do any of that with a fucking fractal? It sounds right. It sounds intuitive. But I think one of the biggest banes that I see right now is that everyone's trying to fit this into 2014, 2015. The bulls say that we're like right here. The bears say that we're somewhere over here. How about fucking neither? And try to make some goddamn money instead of trying to be right? It's so ridiculous. Some of the things that I see around, it's like, holy shit. Have you shown a position? No. You're just talking about is a low in or not. Okay, great. Fucking great. Tell me more. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. If you can tell, I'm a little bit peeved. Anyway, so, okay, cool. I spoke about all of that. Let's go check out CMEs right now. Ooh, Bitcoin selling off a little bit more. We're going to get that pullback. I think so. This looks like it wants to come down. Yeah, if I had some bulls, I'd take a started position right now. Let's see. This should be kind of like the last line of support right over here. Last chance for love, baby. Last chance for love. If we can actually break this one, we got 32 minutes and 51 seconds. So by the time I post this video, we should have confirmation on this. But hey, if we see this next hour, they close below this area at 56, then yep, I'm going to be looking for a move down into this region. Sorry, did I say this region? What is my first target? Like 55 and then 5350-ish, 5400. Something like that. Okay, cool. So far, actually, Bitcoin holding it up. Nice, not bad. Good job, Bitcoin. Let's go check out CMEs. What did CMEs do last night? Let's see. What did CMEs do last night? Not really anything of particular interest. CMEs again look fine to me. We do see CME Stochs crossing the upside. I mean, this is why I have a hard time being bearish right now. CME chart's bullish. You can see the 200 exponential coming in where? Coming in 54.50. So if we do get back down around there, I would be looking for this to be a strong support as well. Now keep in mind that CMEs are trading at about a $25 premium, so that would align with 5,400 on spot. Let me just take a sip of this water because I'm damn thirsty right now. My God. That's kind of why I'm struggling right now, because I look at CMEs and this is completely fine. Looks good to me. Yes, 50 exponential moving average on the weekly still kind of providing resistance, as we see on the 2-day 200 simple for spot charts. We do have a bullish cross right over here. But overall, it's the same thing. It's the same mentality as kind of what I was talking about last week with the 50 simple moving average, which everyone's going crazy about, saying that we rejected from it in 2014, so we have to go down here. It's like, okay, well, yes, we did, but completely different setup. And this is, again, it's one of those things. One of those big things that's, if you're familiar with simple moving averages, just moving averages in general, this is a bullish setup where you grind a moving average like this for multiple weeks in a row. I mean, if you're gonna have a rejection, it happens relatively quickly. Usually, we don't continue to make higher lows on top of that. Now, here's the thing. Look at this. We actually confirmed above the 50 simple moving average on the weekly as well, and this is yet again going to put in another massive base right around where. 53.50. So if Bitcoin gets back down around there, I would be looking for a pretty sizable bounce. This is likely going to be some strong support, as it was strong resistance on the way up. We did indeed break it. Do we come back down and retest it first? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty common stuff to retest these sorts of areas, and then probably continuation. So yeah, again, this 53.50 area is so fucking critical, so critical. If Bitcoin loses it, then yes, we start talking about targets back down into the mid to low 4,000s. But as long as we hold above it, I mean, that's the base to go to, and then probably rally off. And any breakouts above 5,800, I'm looking at a move towards 62 to 64. Is where I'm looking towards. Essentially what I'm looking at right now. Okay, cool. But yeah, this is kind of what people were looking at, saying that it's similar to 2014 because we rejected off it right over here. Well, yes, we did. So we did, and we did right over here as well. But look at these. They were just about immediate. We weren't consolidating at a major moving average for weeks on end. Completely different. This is a bullish setup. Okay, cool. So let's get back on over here. Put these guys back on and switch that 50 up for a 10. There we go. And let's go back to CMEs for a second. So yeah, kind of a similar setup on CMEs right here. We got the 50 exponential moving average, completely flatlined. It has neither a bullish has neither an upslope or a downslope, and so we're getting a bullish cross of these two moving averages right here, which I do like. So longer term trend, I still do think we have some upside. Shorter term trend, could very easily come back down 5,500, 5350, 5400, all those areas equally valid. But I'd be looking for bounces on those areas first and foremost, not until we break those areas where shit starts to change up. Let's see what else we have. Lower time frames on CMEs. What do they look like? Does look like we want to come down a little bit here. 4 hour, again, lower time frames, yeah, looking like they want a little bit of retrace. Higher time frames looking like they want continuation, and we can certainly have both those time frames do what they want within the context of this whole game, and both still be right. GBTC hasn't opened up, so we don't have really shit to be looking at over there, but it is worth mentioning that we did have a pretty sizable rejection on GBTC to end out the week. Again, I don't think that this one's following or leading. I think it's kind of like doing its own thing. It's very strange and bizarre. Weekly would still look like it wants some continuation to me. But daily was a rejection, so probably does come back down and test this $7.04 region. But hey, going to take its time, right? That one won't open up until the rest of the U.S. markets opens, which is going to likely be having a massive down open for the traditional markets, which GBTC doesn't follow that or not. I mean, I don't really have good data on that. I think it's kind of its own entity. It's kind of its own rogue. Okay, cool. All right, so we spoke about all of that. Did we speak about everything that I want to speak about in the lower time frames? I think so. Maybe let's go back to the 4 hour. Yeah, 4 hour kind of looks like it wants to come back down. 4 hour support. Yeah, right around tier 55. Yeah. Yeah, it's starting to look more and more like that. So that's kind of what I stick with. Lower time frames, pull back. Higher time frames, that'd still be of the mind of continuation, actually. Unless the only way that I change that, to be very clear, is if 53.50 is broken. Okay, cool. Let's talk about Mr. Buterol and Mrs. Litecoin. Let's talk about Mr. Buterol first. And this is where it starts to get a little bit more nasty, actually, because I actually did do a small perusal of all the shitcoins before I started recording, and the shitcoins actually look a little bit more bearish right now. So does that drag Bitcoin down? Perhaps. And this is on the US dollar evaluation. So this is Mr. Buterol right over here. We hit our 169 target over the weekend, or I guess technically 170, but you know what I mean. 169 just sounds better, and now looking like it wants to come down to me. I mean, we do see daily stocks get weak right over here. To me, it looks like we want to come back down to 151.5. Going over here to the weekly, weekly is very interesting. We do have weekly support right around 153.5. This area must not fail, though. If we lose 153.5, this thing will extremely likely come down below 140 to like 138 and such. This is higher time frame type shit, though, so not happening, today or tomorrow, but just more forwards outlook. 4 hour wants to come down. 4 hour wants to come down to 140 or 154. Looking droopy to me. What about 12 hour? 12 hour Stokes having a fresh cross down. 12 hour kind of on support right now, but greater support right around 151. So again, this 151 range, of more critical importance, I'd say, as far as as far as the higher time frames go. Be aware of where those pivots are for the weekly. It is 153.5. But if we just take out the prior week's low, that would look pretty bad, and that is 149. For the daily, I'd say support 151. 151. We start to break 151. Yes, we do have support lower at 142, but ultimately I do think that we move lower. Wouldn't be looking too damn hot. Let's go check out Mrs. Litecoin. And again, this chart not as clear as the other ones. And in fact, if we look at Mr. Butyrol on Finex, which we hit our upper target of the 200x bench moving average right over here. I mean, this doesn't look as bad. Although we do have daily stocks getting a little bit tired here. We're still holding above the 21, so that's okay. And the weekly actually had a decent close. The weekly looks like it wants to pop back down to 162.5 and then rally. I mean, that's what I'd be saying about the weekly. It's very strange. Looking at the looking at the Finex charts, they are more bullish. Of course, it's because Finex is having all sorts of litigations and whatnot, but they are having a hearing, I believe, either later today or tomorrow or something like that. Looks like we're going to be finding out, getting down to the getting down and deep into what's actually going on with the New York Attorney General in that whole case. I've heard both sides, and both sides are quite compelling. Actually, Finex does have a legitimate case on their side, just because while I'm certainly not sold on Finex's legitimacy themselves, but as far as it comes to like proving it in law, that's a different game. And proving it in law, it does seem like they actually might have a decent case for themselves. So again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not someone to go to for that. I've spent my life's energy learning technical analysis, not really like litigations and law procedures and shit. So I'm not, qualified to speak on that. But what I can say is that from the people that I've talked to who I believe do have a good grip on that, both sides actually seem to have relatively good case. But yeah, if I'm going off of Finex prices, I'd be bullish. I'd be like kind of the same on Bitcoin, looking for a pullback and then bullish, pull back to like 163.5 and then up move. If I'm looking at US dollar exchanges, not so much. Looks like it wanted to come down to, I think, like 153 or 151, whatever it was. Let's go check out Mrs. Litecoin. Wants to come down as well. $70 hit. I'd say if things get a little bit more nasty, $66 where I'd be looking towards next. Weekly did pop back down to support. So here's the thing. Weekly still looks okay. Here's the thing. If Mrs. Litecoin, as long as Mrs. Litecoin holds $71 and doesn't close like a daily dodo, about a daily dodo below there, looks okay. Now, if I go down to the lower time frames, 4 hour wants to come down. So to me, it's unlikely to hold this area. 4 hour wants to come down to about $68.50 on GDAX. We're $68.50, somewhere right around here, actually. So yeah, looking at the weekly, that would take out the red 10 simple and actually start to look a little bit more nasty. The second that we break about $66 on this one, though, that's when things get pretty nasty, and we're probably gonna have a move down back below $60. Longer, higher time frame type shit. So I do want to check out Finex on this one as well. And same thing, it looks to me like it wants to have a pullback to 72 and then rally off there. I mean, Finex looks bullish. GDAX does not. GDAX looks like it wants to pull back. Lower time frames on Finex do want to pull back as well. $73. But I'd be looking for that area to likely get bought up if I'm just looking at Finex. GDAX, however, would be very bad. This is what makes it so difficult right now. In fact, I forgot to check out what Bitcoin's looking at on Finex, which looking like we put in a little bit of a local high right here. Looking at daily Stokes getting tired. Daily RSI is going to be having bearish divergence. Finex wants to pull back here. Finex wants to pull back to 57.50. So yeah, that's what I'd be saying about that, man. That's what I'd be saying about that. Yes, Finex on this one does look like it wants to pull back. What does the weekly say though? Weekly looks very strong. It likely just be a pullback to 57.50, and then I'd look for a continuation of rally actually. Okay, we spoke about all that. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm really at a crossroads here, just because there's so much divergence between these charts. Um, so when I have these sorts of things, I just don't even trade. Let's go check out Cardano. Cardano hitting our 1100 target. 1122, 1123. Close enough. Close enough. I think that this one does have some more downside to go, most likely. How much more? This is the real question. Probably not too much more, like maybe 1060, 1069, somewhere in this region here. If I were to put in a nice box. Oh, I already got one. Nice. Okay, good. Let's try this. Yeah, somewhere in this region right here is kind of where I'd be looking towards. But I do think that it's more close to a bouncy area than it is not, is what I'd be saying. Weekly is pretty bad on the Satoshi pair, and obviously I know people are looking at this versus the dollar. I can't say that's too much better. In fact, I've looked at this before, so I know it's not much better. But you know what? We'll look at it anyways, and let's do it versus USD coin. Jesus Christ, man. What are they going to think of next? Yeah, I mean, dollar pairing, just another lower high as well. Looking like it's setting up for a downwards move, maybe to like 5 cents. Yeah, somewhere around here. Again, it's the weakness in alts that's actually quite concerning right now. BNB looks like it wants to have the pullback to me. I do believe that this one wants to pull back now. All these rallies or all these areas getting faded. It looks to me like we're probably going to break the 21 exponential at $22.09, and next target's going to be somewhere down around here, right around $19.75. I would feel quite confident with that target. We do see weekly Stochs crossing over and down, and daily starting to spill over a little bit as daily Stochs cross down. I do think that this one does want to make a run down here. Now, technically, should be waiting until the 21 exponential moving average breaks. Let's look at some lower time frames. Kind of in no man's land right here. Does to me look like it wants to break, to be quite honest. 3 hour, kind of coming into an area, to be fair. But I think that we do go low on this one. I think that this one is ready for a pullback. Zcash. Zcash getting rejected, looking like it wants to make another downwards move as well. We do see daily Stochs getting weak over here. Daily RSI back into the bearish control zone, trending below the exponential. What about the weekly? Weekly is the second that price action takes below $59, very fucking bad. Very fucking bad. Now, does that mean that it's going to happen? That's a better question. But the second that it happens is the second that I get quite bearish for a move down here, maybe towards about $55 would be the first target, and maybe even lower than that at some point. Again, gonna follow the rest of the market, but it does look a little bit on the weaker side. Bcash. What's Bcash doing? Getting rejected at my area. I was saying that I was looking at this area likely to get broken yesterday. We did not get that. In fact, we're getting a little bit of a sell off this area. What do we have on the RSI? Not really getting too much from that. What about weekly? Yeah, weekly support lower. Weekly support right around 240, 250-ish area. I wouldn't get too damn bearish until we actually break 250 though from a higher time frame perspective. Again, looking at the weekly, actually could very easily have another leg up towards 3350, or sorry, 335. That's what I'm trying to say. Jesus Christ, man. Brain's working extra slow today. I got so much sleep last night. I don't know why it's so slow right now. But more importantly, my point is that, hey, whenever I talk about the altcoins, it's probably just a lot easier to look at Bitcoin, even though right now Bitcoin's not too decisive itself. But likely to mirror Bitcoin's move, and I do think that lower time frames Bitcoin probably do want to come down. Higher time frames, still I'd be leaning for some upside actually. Tron Cash, what's Tron doing? Close below the 21 and the 10 simple, below all major moving averages. Not good. What is the daily looking like? Daily death cross below all major moving averages. Not good. Probably have another move down to test like 2.2, or sorry, 2.3. Neo down. Ooh, is that gonna hit? I believe that my target on this one's like 830. What did I say last time? 840, 850, something like that. Yeah, somewhere down around here. Major rejection on the weekly close and continuation downwards. I do think that this one wants to go further down. 850-ish area would be my next bouncy area. EOS, what's EOS doing? Losing it as well. They're all coming down, man. They're all coming down. Next target on EOS about 466, most likely. Yeah, 466 to 470. It's all the same shit, man. It's all the same shit. Weekly Stochs crossing down as well, in one massive rising channel, if you want to call it that. Yeah. Yeah, major support right here at about 450. If he does get there, 450 needs to hold. Otherwise, problems. Otherwise, problems. But we'll get to that if and when it does happen. Let's go check out Mr. Ripple Me Nipples getting rejected once again on the retest of the broken trend line from like a week and a half ago. And to me, looks like it wants to come back down, grind the 28.5 cent support. Of course, while this is a bearish chart, we've been bearish on this for fucking half a year now. It's not until we actually break 28.5 cent where I'm looking for like the next big downside trade towards 24 to 25 cent down around here. It does look like it wants to do it, but until it actually does it, you just don't know how long it's going to spend going sideways here. So timing a trade like that, better to wait for confirmation in my opinion. Daily does look like it wants to have a move down though and test the support once again though. Monero coming down. Expecting a small bounce off $67, but I think we already kind of got there. Next leg down will take us to about $64. Stellar Cash, 9.5 cent. Yeah, this one was looking weak yesterday and getting follow through today. Again, I really dislike being bearish on this region right here. I don't like to be bearish here. I also I'm certainly not bullish here either. Weekly Stokes having a fresh cross to the downside, getting rejected from the bullish control zone. If I'm just looking at this, it looks like it wants to come further down. But I have a rule that I don't short the 200 simple or 200 exponential until they're actually like officially broken. We're kind of right on them right now. Just asked the people shorting that on Bitcoin a couple months ago. Didn't work out too well. Traditional markets, they're going to be having a pretty massive down open today. Most likely, assuming that nothing really changes. Could this be could this be the week of pullback down to 285? Am I going to go out on a limb here and say I'm going to call it once again? Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm looking for it either which way. Come back down and test the 10 simple, most likely. Then we'll kind of figure it out from there. If the reaction's good, then still time to be bullish. If the reaction's bad, then we can talk about further retracements back down to like the low 280s. But for now, 285 and a half. Test the 10 simple on the weekly. And whoops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to hit the mic. Apologies about that. And that's what I feel more comfortable with. Especially, on like an economic event like this, or sorry, not an economic event, but, a fucking news piece, a world event like this. That's what I mean to say. When the war drums start beating, we'll come back down and test those more prominent levels most likely. Let's actually look at our high time frames here. Yeah, weekly Stokes actually looking very eerily similar to Bitcoin, getting way up there, but they can stay up there for a while. Weekly RSI testing the bullish control zone for the first time in a very long time. Usually this area is going to be, we're going to see a pullback off this area just by the nature of it being this area. And what better week than this week with war talks coming out once again? Come back, test the exponential would be great. And how much damage can we do on price action? Well, probably back down to the 10 simple, and then we'll kind of reassess if and when that does happen. Let's go check out. Let's do 1-4x. Of which I know plenty are moving like crazy right now. Let's go talk about my baby, pound versus yen. Pound versus yen right over here on the weekly, coming back down and beginning the week with just a massive sell-off. So we closed last Friday with a massive squeeze to the upside. This week opens straight up just erasing the whole fucking gains of that day, coming back down to base on the 200 exponential and bouncing off that so far. Now lower time frames, a little bit difficult to decipher actually. A little bit difficult to decipher. Let's go to the 2 hour. Yeah, it looks like we are kind of getting caught up right around this region, and there is more downwards pressure than upwards pressure. We do see daily Stokes heading up a little bit. What about weekly? Weekly Stokes are still down. Weekly does make me think that the next move is likely up, and that this is just a shakeout to the downside. But holy shit, man, what a brutal fucking way to start the week. If I'm going off the lower time frames, do we come back down and grind out 140, 145 even, 144.9? Probably, but I don't think that it gets broken. Daily probably does bounce off this area more than anything. It's going to depend where the daily closes today. Does it close above or below 145.4? If it closes above 145.4, I'm bullish for a move back up to the 146 level and probably beyond. If we end below 145.4, looking for continuation to the downside, probably down towards here, towards prior low, 144.5, and we will have a lower target, down around here. I mean, this is just going to be one massive triangle. triangle. So that'd be somewhere down around like 144, flat. Again, stakes are high right now. That's going to be a big trade. That's going to be a big trade. I'm curious what the monthly looks like right now as well. Yeah, monthly is very bizarre. Rejection off the 21, but we have caught wind of the red 10 simple. So monthly is saying that, hey, if we do take out prior low, or sorry, even the red 10 simple, we're probably coming back down to this area right over here, 139.7. I mean, Jesus Christ, that would be a huge move. By the same token, if we go the bullish route on this, we're probably going to march our way towards 150. So the stakes are very high right now. I mean, the next big trade is right on the tip of our tongues. Monthly Stokes are to the upside right here. Monthly RSI is trending above the exponential as well. So do I lean to the upside here? Maybe a little bit, yeah. Maybe a little bit. But again, this one's kind of a news-driven thing with the pound, right? All the Brexit talks and whatnot, all that good bullshit. Oh, there we go. Bitcoin taking itself down, and I think that we're gonna get this move right here, right now. So with that said, I want to ship off this video so I can get it out as soon as possible. But yeah, looks like we're gonna be seeing that that move to the downside. Like I said, first kind of target 5,500 flat. Then the next big area is going to be 5,350 to 5,400 in this zone right here. So I'm actually going to put in a nice blue box down around there. We'll just kind of see how that reacts going forwards here when we get onto the live stream a little bit later. But right here, and it's going to be this area right here. And that's kind of where I'd be looking for a more sizable bounce. If we do get right around here, this is the big actionable area. And just because I'm saying that I'm looking for a bounce in this area does not mean that I'm going to be right. It just means that if we break this area, then we got some very new to consider. We have to consider that's likely going to be coming down very low 5,000s. Probably at that point we start talking about back into the 4,000s. But right now, Bitcoin's still kind of struggling its way through. So not really a huge point of contention. And of course we need to actually confirm below this area before anything. So we're about 9 minutes and 30 seconds away from this. So by the time that I post this video, we should have confirmation on this. Although I really would like to see a 2-hour rather than an hourly, but you just never know when these areas get reaccumulated, right? Anyways, that's going to do it for right now. I'll quickly wrap this up once again. Let's bring it on to maybe a 2-hour here. More immediate time frames. Downside below 5,600, looking for 55 obviously, and then 5,350 to 5,400 would be a little bit more likely. If we do break this onto the upside, I need to see a 2-hour total close above 5,800, and then looking for a move into the 6,000s. That's going to do it for right now. But an absolute pleasure to speak with you on this lovely Monday. Your beautiful start to the weekend. My God, my brain needs to wake up a little bit more. I'm going to drink some more water because, man, I'm fucking thirsty. And as always, want to be wishing you a happy and healthy day. And take care. See you soon.